Hello, 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 amigas, and welcome to Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast. I am so excited and uber enthralled, everything, you name it. This woman is, amigas, es chingona. Oh my God, I'm just so excited to have her here. I met her once in Dallas, Texas, and at the A La Latina Trailblazer event that they conducted. And I was so fortunate to be at their table at Nina Vaca's house. And I just fell in love with her and her message. And here's the thing, amigas. This beautiful soul is Claudia Romo Edelman. And she's up to amazing things. And right before we got on the mic, we were talking about literally about her experience, just very tiny, about the Davos and just being out there talking to people. And I'm just excited that she's here with us. And so let me tell you a little bit about Claudia, because we're going to dive really deeply with her message here today. So Claudia Romo Edelman is a global mobilization expert, marketer for social causes, and founder of We Are All Human Foundation, a nonprofit. So this is just an amazing title, right? But here's the thing, amigas. Es un corazón. Un corazón. Like, she really talks and walks the walk. And I'm so excited to have her here. And I know that part of her suite of services is also being a podcaster on A La Latina. And that's the reason why I was able to meet her in Dallas, Texas. So without further ado, welcome, Claudia Romo Edelman to Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast.
Jackie. Thank you so very much for the invitation. I'm very excited to be here with you today.
Oh my goodness, the pleasure is all mine, Claudia. So for those of my amigas out there that do not know who you are, if you could just give us the 411, like your upbringing, where were you born, before we really niche down into your professional life?
So I'm a marketer for social causes. I pretty much, have been doing the same over the last 3 decades. Same wine, different bottles in a way, which is trying to win the hearts and minds of people to do the right thing. Whether as a diplomat or as a journalist, or then later on working for humanitarian organizations, the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, UNICEF, the Global Fund to Fight AIDS, Tuberculosis, and Malaria. Pretty much, I think that my life has been defined by being able to paint a picture, get people excited and inspired to join forces and do those ambitious goals that are good for everybody. And so I was born to a family of very strong women from Mexico. I left Mexico 30 years ago. I'm gonna say the first 20 I was living in Europe, and the last 10 I've been living in the U.S. And I left my job some 6-7 years ago to create the World Human Foundation, because I thought that the world needed a reminder that we belong to the same human family, that what happens to one affects the others. And pretty much I think that I started paying very close attention to this community that was going to be mine, the Latino community. So that's what I've been doing through an initiative called Hispanic Star, that very rightly you say has a gender track called A La Latina, the playbook to succeed being your authentic self.
Oh my God, I love that. So, amiga, one of the things that I like to do with my guests is I love to go back in time, because who you are today is definitely not the person that was going to school in that family. It's so nice to hear the background. I know you're from Mexico, but are your parents, are your relatives involved in this world? Because I feel like they probably, maybe, do share.
My parents met. My mother was a professional basketball player, and my mother and my dad met playing basketball because he was also a basketball player, not professional, but they had 3 kids. And the two of them, I was the middle one, and the two of them had the same fate, which was grow up to 9 months and then go backwards. So from running to walking, crawling, sitting down until they passed. And so I was the survivor of my family, and I grew up under a microscope, and that pretty much defined me because everybody was like, every month that I made it, every year that I made it, they were like, wow, she's so strong. Or I heard all the time like, wow, you must have something important to do in this planet because pretty much your two siblings had a fate and you were able to defy it. And I do remember actually growing with the sense of I have a mission and I'm strong, and as a fact, stronger than death. So I grew up believing that everything was possible, and that, like that pretty much I think that made me take the choices that I took, like go for chronic diseases or AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria, or poverty, trying to eradicate poverty and those global gigantic goals that the world has been able to overcome or to advance. And every time I think that, Jackie, I went to a place, honestly, I found people like me that believed that everything was possible. So possibilist, right? Like not even optimist, but possibilist. So I think that my background of being the daughter of, the daughter of survivor parents that had two kids that died, defined who I am. And I would say that the other thing is my mom, who is an incredible person. She was a basketball player. Then she said, like, no, I have to be serious now. I have a daughter, and she became a single mom after the loss of my siblings, my mom and my dad divorced. And so she became an economist and was, quite successful as an economist until she dropped the towel and she was like, I want to be an actress. So all of a sudden at 40, she started being out of nothing, and she wanted to act and fulfill her dream. And it was a transition to see, right? Like when you're like that age and responsible and a single mother in a way. And I remember, she died actually, like one of the most renowned actresses in Mexico. She made her dream come true, and it's not that she did it. It was hard as a daughter, and it's not that she did it being like without any fear, right? Like fear-free, fearless. She was not fearless, but she was fear-free. And so the combination of seeing my mother determined not to have fear take the decisions of her life, but she was going to take the decisions of her life and then manage her fears. The combination of feeling that everything is possible and being, in a way, seeing a super strong woman being fear-free, I think that, have put me where I am today.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you're saying about fear-free. I think there is a pivotal moment in a woman's life, and I really believe it's at that 40-year mark where you get to go back and look at your life and be like, is this really where I want to be? Like, am I chasing a different goal now? Or do I stop chasing? And so for me, I know for myself, I had that moment. I'm like, I'm a lawyer. And then all of a sudden it was like, is this in alignment with me? And so I commend your mom for like chasing her goals, her dreams. And so I'm sure that is deeply inspirational for you, Claudia, because here you are, a la Latina, you're still humanitarian. How do you manage all these things?
Well, I'm not sure what the question is, but at the end of the day, I think that they are one and the same, which is I 100% believe that our community has everything it needs and takes to be, seen, heard, and valued. And I think that we do not have the privilege yet to enjoy the recognition that we deserve. So I 100% believe that the Latino reality is wonderful, but the perception of Latinos is not has not caught up with our reality. We are the youth, we're the population, we're the hard worker, we're the demographic, we're the behavior, we're the sentiment, we're the values. We make pretty much, we mean, and we bring to this country growth and progress. And not even to this country, we bring it worldwide, because if Latinos would be a standalone economy, would be not only the fifth largest economy of America, but the third fastest growing economy worldwide, which is the message that I brought to Davos. So I being a marketer for social causes and having done all my life like trying to get the attention of people for things that they don't see, I think that this is really inspiring, because I know it's possible. Everything is possible, and I want to believe that for the next generation, for my daughter, and maybe for yours, for everyone in the audience, we're going to see a next generation that never has to feel stigmatized, that never has to feel racism and discrimination, and that xenophobia will be a thing for the past for Latinos, where we're going to be seen as what we are, positive contributors to the country, and being recognized as an economic driving force for America. So that drives me, and so everything else is just activity.
I love that. That is so true. And so how do you see today, given the new world politics, at least here in America, how it's I see all these executive orders being signed by the current president, and I'm thinking, wow, are we taking a step back?
It's even more
What are your
important,
thoughts?
actually, on the contrary. I think that this is an incredible window of opportunity for us to make sure that we understand that, look, Jackie, when you are in a plane and there's turbulence, the best thing that can happen is for the pilot to get to above the clouds as fast as possible for the comfort of the passengers. It doesn't mean that the plane will collapse or anything. It's just like more comfortable when you get out of turbulence, because there's uncertainty, there's uncomfort. But at the end of the day, I think that the way in which I see what can bring us forward, what is that piece of turbo that is going to propel us to be above the clouds, is to take control of our narrative. It's to make sure that everybody in the country recognizes Latinos as an economic driving force for America. The sooner we make that, the faster we're going to get to a place of above the clouds, where this is not a partisan issue, this is a country issue and a growth issue and a progress issue for the prosperity of America. So I absolutely think that, no, I see turbulence very differently to, like something terminal. And this is just a moment in time in which we have to use to propel us to go faster to the place where we need to go.
Oh, yes. I love this. Me too. I feel that, it's not a good time for us to sulk or to actually stay stuck. It's a great opportunity to rise to the occasion and show who we are as a community. I really enjoy this conversation. So, where do you see a la Latina in this whole landscape?
The same. I mean, like at the end of the day, what we need to understand is that the Hispanic brand is undervalued. We have a perception crisis. We have a narrative crisis. We don't have a reality crisis. So we are 62 million people, we don't have a crisis there. We're the youngest of the country, we don't have a crisis. We're graduating from school, we're progressing, we're moving from low income to middle income, we're getting every time more salaries, we're getting every time more positions, etc. It's so what we need to make sure is that we get more Latinas to the top in half the time with half the bruises. Because it's been hard for us. I mean, like our generation has some bruises. The generations above, they had real hits, right? Like the hard time was for our parents and our grandparents. They came back home with bleeding hands, 2 to 3 jobs, to sacrifice it all, to give us the opportunities so that we can be the first generation to go to college, so that we can be the first ones to have a corporate job, that like you have an opportunity to make multi-generational wealth. In their wildest dreams, our ancestors would have dreamed about that. But now we have an opportunity to make sure that the next gen has it in half the time with half the bruises. We have a playbook. We have understood and we have been conquering our space. So A La Latina pretty much is a communication platform that allows for the wings of those Latinas that didn't think that they could do it to expand and to start dreaming big and to start flying to their full potential, and just to give them the tools to do so and the networks to do so and the role models to be inspired by.
Right. Oof. This is incredible. So, amiga, what would you say to a listener out there that is listening to this podcast, that drive, that what advice would you provide for that person to get to where they want to be? Because right now you are that voice for our society. So how can someone else emulate that?
I think that we just need to take a deep dive in the data. I mean, like, the data will set you free. Information will set you free, and we have the data with us. We need to be aware of our own contribution. We need to be aware of who are we. Like, if you're Hispanic, Latino, Latinx, whatever you want to call yourself, get immersed into that understanding, because the data not only will set you free, but it will make you powerful about, like, it will provide you with a power platform. And so when you understand that there's no way that a company can hire, that a company can sell without you, if you understand that there's no way a politician can win an election without you, then you feel powerful, which is what we have. So you start embracing your power. I would say that the number two is to be smart about the moment. So it's not, I will continue forever doing advocacy, but I have been able to be the activist that I am because I pivot. Latinos are very adaptable and flexible, and so at the end of the day, I think that I would say, get the power of your data, and then use your Latinidad as a superpower. You don't have to call it Latinidad, right? Like, if people are saying, like, no, let's not talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion and so on, you don't have to push your Latinidad, but I do recommend that you push your superpowers that come because you're a Latino. If you have an accent, it's because you're bilingual. So push your bilingualism and your biculturalism, and push the fact that we are, through that idea of having an accent and what it means to be bilingual, it means that you're more adaptable and that you're more flexible and that you're more optimistic and that you work really hard and that you lead like a mother, and that leads to teams that are very, very strong. And so start looking at the values and the characteristics that are inherent to our community, and take pride of them, and ideally help those characteristics to push you forward as corporate assets that they are, and to help you break free. Like my mother, just like have your Latinidad be a superpower that can help you set free.
Like a ganas. I just comes like just that drive, the tenacity, that conviction, that honor of yourself to just go for it. Am I right?
Jackie, there is that we don't lack pride. It's not that we lack ganas. What we lack is awareness of what we bring to the table. And again, because we have a lot of ganas, but people don't realize that. Again, I'm just going to stick to the accent idea. If you work really hard, but at the end of the day, there's an unconscious bias out there because you have an accent, then you try to hide your accent by not speaking a lot, or by self-recluding. People do not understand accent as an asset, but as a negative, for example, where you are clearly, a victim, if you want, of the unconscious biases. No one wants to judge you. It's just like the brain associates neutral accent with intelligence, and therefore when you have an accent, there's not intelligence association or lack of competency or lack of professionalism. When you're aware that an accent is not a negative, but it's a pro, because what it really means is not that you're less intelligent, it's that you're bilingual. And when you make that flip, when you flip the script in your mind, then you take that as a superpower. Then it becomes something that you bring to the table with, let alone with pride, but with awareness. And you can tell your boss, you can tell your environment, bilingualism means I can talk to two different groups, twice the group. Yeah. I can talk in different environments and bring adaptability, flexibility, and adjustment of message that will make me very prone to negotiation and international deals. For example, as simple as that is turning tables or flip the script, that I think is something that I would recommend to anybody that is struggling right now, is just to rely on and just like take stake of the awareness of what characteristics and what superpowers are adherent to the Latino community.
Wow. Flipping the switch. That really resonates with me. Especially because as a community, as Latinas, what I have come across is a lot of imposter syndrome. And so we self-talk ourselves and convince ourselves that we're not good enough.
Right.
But I love what you're saying. Let's flip the script. Okay, let's just, even if you don't believe it, just pretend, or really now honor yourself and believe in it and move forward with that. Flipping the script. So, as we're getting at the tail end of our conversation here, amiga, I always ask amigas to tell me and tell my audience if they could provide one or two tips on how an amiga can handle her ship. But you've been giving us gems. Let me just say that on the outset. But if you can narrow niche, maybe one or two tips that you're saying, like, this is essential to move forward on how handling your shit.
One, I would say, really be knowledgeable about your about the data of your community and about the values that you have. So become take a deep dive in the data and become a factivist. I would say you don't have to be an activist like me, but like a factivist, someone that has the facts right, because that's going to help you with your own perception, and it's going to help the others around you to understand your superpowers better. And the other one that I would say, honestly, is just take someone with you. It is so imperative, particularly in a time of crisis, that we don't go back to isolating and to thinking and to going to a scarcity mentality. When you have abundance mentality, you take people with you, you open the door for each other, you share the access code with people, and that makes you actually not only level the playing field for all, but it just like pushes you forward. So I would say, be aware of who you are, become a factivist, share the facts with people, and then take someone with you. Do not let the scarcity mentality take over.
Yeah, which I have seen day in, day out, that it sometimes does. I mean, I can be honest about myself. For a long time, I said, how can you be a podcaster? Hello, you're a lawyer. You go to court. So and believing, okay, if this is no longer in alignment with me, that I could do something else. Just because I got this title doesn't mean I have to live and die for that title for the rest of my life. And I love what you're saying is,
That's right.
Yes.
And so it's about flipping the script, right? Like understanding that everything is possible.
Everything is possible. Well, thank you so much, Claudia. If you have anything else that you'd like to share with us,
I think that this is a time. The only thing that I would say to everyone is that this is a time in which we all are pilots of the plane that can take us out of the turbulence. And the way to do it is to become ambassadors of our own community through our data and through our stories. So do not hesitate to go to HispanicStar.org and to places where you can find those pieces of data and narratives and become an ambassador. Talk to people about what they need to know about our community. The faster we go out, the sooner we're out of the turbulence.
I love that. You heard it here, amigas. Thank you so much, Claudia, for being here on Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast.